We often think of freedom as something we just have, like it's a permanent possession. But what if it's more like a fire that we have to actively keep burning? Today, we're going to dig into what it truly means to sustain liberty, not just for today, but for a lifetime, and for all the generations that come after us.
And this quote, it just nails the core idea. Think about it. In a relay race, the race isn't won by a single sprinter going all out. It's won by the team, right? By that smooth, careful passing of the baton from one runner to the next. Liberty is that baton. Each generation gets it, has the responsibility to carry it forward, and then, crucially, has to pass it on successfully.
Okay, so that leads us to the big question. And this isn't about famous leaders or figures from a history book. This is about us. You, me, our neighbors. How do regular people like us become the critical links in this chain that keeps a free society alive and well? That's exactly what we're going to unpack.
So, to start, let's talk about how freedom actually fades. Because look, to understand how to preserve something, you first have to understand how it's most often lost. And I'll tell you, it's probably not in the way you imagine.
This is so important because it shows this huge contrast. On the left, you've got how we think liberty is lost, in some big, sudden, dramatic event, a collapse. But the reality, when you look at history, is on the right. It's far more common for freedom to just fade away, through gradual neglect, through apathy, through a slow forgetting of what it was all about in the first place.
So if the threat is this slow, quiet neglect, then the solution has to be a slow, consistent effort. Liberty survives when people stay engaged, not just for one election cycle, but for decades. It survives when they consistently practice responsibility, when they teach what they've learned, and, this one is so critical, when they absolutely refuse to give in to cynicism.
And that really boils down to this one key idea. It's not about these big moments of outrage or political frenzy. Those can be just flashes in the pan. Real, lasting freedom is sustained by faithfulness, that steady, reliable, long-term commitment to just doing the small, necessary things day in and day out.
Now, this brings up a really fascinating way to think about our own lives. What if our civic duty isn't just one single, static task? What if it's a journey that actually changes as we change? A journey that moves through different seasons, just like a lifetime does.
Let's just walk through this. When we're young, our main role is really to learn, to observe, and to start forming good habits. Then, as we move into adulthood, our focus shifts to applying those habits. Working, serving our communities, raising families. Then comes midlife, where a lot of us step into leadership or mentorship roles, helping to stabilize our core institutions. And finally, in our later years, the role evolves again into teaching, advising, and bearing witness to what we've learned. See? Each season has its own vital purpose.
Which, of course, leads us to maybe the most important job of all, passing that flame to the people who come after us. And let me tell you, how we do it matters every bit as much as the fact that we do it.
The temptation is always to try and force the next generation to believe exactly what we believe. But that's not really how it works. Effective teaching means sharing what we know without being afraid of it being challenged. It means modeling restraint, not just demanding it from others. And crucially, it means inviting questions and just trusting that the core principles of liberty are strong enough to stand on their own. It's passed on by example, not by force.
And that brings us to another critical distinction. On one side, you've got the structures of freedom. Things like constitutions, courts, laws. You can think of them as the blueprint for a free society. But on the other side, you have the sustainers. And that's the people of character that are needed to actually make those structures work. Because at the end of the day, a blueprint is totally useless without the builders.
So how do these institutions actually last? Well, it all comes down to people. They endure when citizens just consistently show up. They endure when leaders act with humility, serving the institution itself rather than their own egos. And they endure when entire communities start to value building trust more than just winning the next political fight.
Okay, let's make this really personal now. Let's talk about your civic legacy. And I'm not talking about building monuments or getting your name in a history book. It's something much, much deeper and way more meaningful than that.
A true civic legacy isn't measured by how much recognition you get. It's measured by continuity. It's about making sure the good things we all contribute continue long after we're gone. And most of this work? It's completely unseen, but it's never, ever unfelt. It's like the stable foundation that allows other people to build things on top of it.
So what does this actually look like in real life? It's probably not as grand as you might think. It's teaching a kid not just what to believe, but why freedom of thought even matters. It's serving on that local board or volunteering when you're tired and it feels super inconvenient. It's speaking the truth calmly in a world that only seems to want to shout. It's all the quiet work of just strengthening the institutions in your own backyard.
Okay, so what can you actually do? Here's a kind of roadmap for the years ahead. Number 1, commit to being a lifelong learner about how all this works. 2, practice steady participation, not just jumping in during moments of outrage. 3, teach the next generation. 4, serve institutions that are going to be around long after you are. And finally, number 5, just live faithfully in your job and in your community right where you are.
And really, this whole thing boils down to one powerful idea. We can't sit around and wait for some hero to come save the day. That is just not how freedom works. It's this massive, decentralized project sustained by the small, faithful actions of millions of ordinary citizens, passed carefully from one generation to the next.
And that leaves us with a final and pretty heavy question to think about. Based on our actions, our faithfulness, our teaching, what are we actually passing on in this relay? Is the next generation going to get that baton with confidence, ready to run their leg of the race? Or are they going to inherit a whole lot of confusion, not even sure what they're holding or where they're supposed to go? The answer to that, well, it's up to us.